Now, Harry and Andrew, they've also recently been replaced as councillors of the state. This was all done very quietly. What does that mean, and who replaces them?
So the Councillors of State bill that was submitted last year for the year 2022-2023, just after the King's accession, actually had a small amendment that has recently been discovered, which basically states that only working royal members of the royal family can become Councillors of State. And now it's become particularly relevant because the King is taking time off to have surgery for a routine procedure, but he is still going to be able to fulfill his constitutional role as head of state, just not the ceremonial ones of, charities and going to events and all of that. But because of that small amendment of working royals, that effectively disqualifies Prince Andrew, certainly, who I still think should be banished to Goa, and Prince Harry and Princess Beatrice, who's not a working member of the royal family. So, traditionally, councillors of state have been the spouse of the monarch, and then the next four in line to the throne over the age of 21, which of course nullifies Prince William's children. But by adding the working royal stipulation, that effectively nullifies Harry and Prince Andrew, who are technically still councillors of state, but actually not eligible to carry out the role.
Now, the recent illnesses of both the King and the Princess of Wales illustrate just how important these roles are. Are there enough members of the royal family to fill the void?
It seems so. I mean, we have to remember that the King is not going to be off for very long. This is a very routine procedure for an enlarged prostate, which is a very common condition. I mean, 90% of men over the age of 80 suffer from it. So if you're a man and you happen to live that long, it is likely that you'll undergo this procedure. So it's just the King, one senior member of the royal family that will be off for at least a few weeks. It's Princess Catherine who's going to be off until at least Easter. And obviously because of that, Prince William is going to take some time off as well, just to be there for her and their children. He's likely to take on some of her engagements between now and that time. And there unfortunately have been speculations that Harry could have stepped in if he and Meghan were still in the royal family, but that ship has sailed. But they're going to work around it. I mean, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh are still taking on a lot of roles, and Princess Anne, who shows no signs of slowing down. Last year she was the hardest working royal with the most royal engagements for 2023. So it looks like they're just going to shuffle their calendars and somehow make it work. But obviously this does remind us that there are fewer members of the royal family, working members of the royal family, to carry out their duties, and someone like Prince Andrew is completely out of the picture, rightly so.
Harry has recently been given an award as an aviation living legend. The ceremony was in Beverly Hills this week, and during his speech he made this strange remark about John Travolta and his mother, Princess Diana.
Thanks very much, Captain John. Don't go running away. I was 1 year old. I was 1 year old when you danced with my mum. As you told everybody here, you continue to dine out on that probably every single night. But look at us now. It's great. So if we're not going to dance together, we'll fly together.
Esther, what was this award all about, and what was that comment all about?
So this award was obviously presented by John Travolta, and it was for the Living Legends of Aviation, and it was presented to Prince Harry for his role as an Apache helicopter pilot during his tour of Afghanistan between 2007 and 2012. And it's actually been quite controversial, mainly because really between 2007 and 2012 he only had about 30 weeks of active service in a war zone, and many of the people that served in Afghanistan with him have come out and said, he had an SAS bodyguard with him at all times, so his life was never really in any danger. Now that doesn't negate the fact that he did serve his country and he did serve abroad, but it draws into question, does that qualify as someone as a living legend of aviation, 30 weeks of service in an active war zone? I mean, the wider implications or the bigger questions of why did he even attend this event, I'm assuming he takes himself and his role in Afghanistan very seriously. I think is the last things he can grasp onto of his old life before he left the royal family and Britain entirely. But people that have served in the army for many years, even decades, will never see an award like this. Not that it's the pinnacle of service, but it is a significant award, and it is something that should be respected. at the very least, if it's commemorating someone's service in the armed forces. And for someone like Harry to receive this award is strange. It's a bit unfair if you think about it, if it's only 30 weeks of service. And it's also, it makes you question why he even went as well. I mean, he did go to the event alone. Meghan didn't accompany him. But one line that he did say when he was accepting his award is that information about his activities in Afghanistan are classified, which is interesting because his Taliban kill count is not classified. That's glaring in his autobiography Spare, but for some reason now he's remaining tight-lipped about his other activities in Afghanistan.